Good evening and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We recognize that exploring EB-5 is not simply a financial or legal decision. It's a deeply personal one that involves your family, your career, and your long-term plans in the United States. We truly appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedules to be here. To learn more about our regional center and to meet Joey Barnett and Dr. Joseph Pinbera. Today's discussion is why EB-5 now, immigration risk, timing, and project selection. Against the backdrop of evolving immigration policy, visa backlogs, and increasing uncertainty in traditional employment-based pathways, many families and professionals are thoughtfully reassessing EB-5 as a more stable, long-term option. We're honored to be joined by three frontline experts representing the legal, regional center, and project sponsor perspectives. Together, we'll discuss whether EB-5 should be reconsidered and repositioned in 2026, why now matters, how to assess risk, and how to approach project selection. Before we begin, here's a brief overview of how today's session will flow. We'll start with an overview of the current immigration landscape and the EB-5 framework. Next, we'll hear from the regional center perspective, including historical experience and track record. We'll then take a deeper look at Beyond's Hawaii Big Island project. And finally, we'll reserve time for a question and answer session. You're welcome to submit questions at any time throughout the chat. You may also leave questions after each speaker's segment, and we'll do our best to address them promptly. Today's three speakers represent three critical roles within the EB-5 ecosystem. Our first speaker is Joey Barnett, a partner at WR Immigration, who will help us unpack the current immigration reality from a legal and policy perspective. Our second speaker is Dr. Joseph Pinbera, chairman of USCIS-approved EB-5 regional centers, CEIC and HEIC, who will share long-term regional center insights and decision-making perspectives. Our third speaker is Jenny Zahn, founder and CEO of Beyond International Management. Jenny will introduce Beyond as an organization and walk through the latest updates and details of the Hawaii Big Island project. So with that, I want to introduce Joey. Joey is from WR Immigration. He is a partner at the firm and a member of its EB-5 and business immigration practices. He is licensed as an attorney in Illinois and Wisconsin and practices exclusively in immigration and nationality law. With more than a decade of dedicated experience in immigration and nationality law, Joey specializes in the EB-5 Immigrant Investor Program, handling hundreds of investor submissions, I-526 and I-829, representing both foreign investors and US-based developers and regional centers. His practice also covers a full range of business immigration services, including work visas, H-1B, L-1, E-2, O-1, and extraordinary ability petitions for professionals, entrepreneurs, and multinational corporations. Mr. Barnett also leads a robust federal immigration litigation practice, regularly filing actions in district courts to contest unreasonable delays in arbitrary agency decisions. He currently serves as the vice chair on the American Immigration Lawyers Association, AILA, EB-5 committee, and is a member of the IIUSA editorial board, and has been selected as a top 25 immigration attorney by EB-5 Investors Magazine and for inclusion of the best lawyers in America since 2023. So we'll begin with the broader immigration landscape. Joey will help us understand why, under current administration policy conditions, visa backlogs, and employment uncertainty, an increasing number of Indian nationals, as well as applicants from other countries, are taking a closer look at EB-5. He will also walk us through the EB-5 framework, including source of funds considerations, loan structures, and recent policy shifts, and visa dynamics that impact timing and strategy. With that, I'll turn it over to Joey.
Thanks, Robin, and thank you so much to the whole group for having me on. Joseph, I know we have never met before this one, but I certainly know your name and your long reputation of being a great regional center. And Jenny, it's an honor to be here with you. I know we've known each other for years and have worked on a number of projects together. So it's really wonderful to be here with both of you. And thank you for everyone who's joining. As Robin mentioned, my name's Joey Barnett. I have been practicing in EB-5 for over 15 years. It's my principal area of practice, and it is going gangbusters right now. And the reason why is because of the new law that was passed in 2022, which allows folks who are in the United States to file an adjustment of status at the same time that they file the EB-5 petition. Previously, you needed to wait for the EB-5 petition to be approved in order to file an adjustment of status. Now you get to file them at the same time. And with that, you are able to file for an employment authorization document or an advanced parole, which allows you to travel. And you can get these, we call those interim benefits that you get while your EB-5 case is pending. And you get a lot of flexibility. You get a plan B. You get the ability to stop working if you need to. And that is what has been such a game changer. The other thing that happened in 2022 is that Congress created 3 new visa categories: rural, high unemployment, and infrastructure. And to date, they remain current in the visa bulletin. That has allowed everyone who is in the United States, wants to file EB-5, the ability to file that adjustment and remain in the United States until there's a final decision on that application. And that is a big backup for folks who are on F1 that aren't selected in the H-1B lottery, Indian and Chinese nationals who are in the United States on H-1 but stuck in visa backlogs, EB-2 or EB-3. I think a lot of folks are seeing the writing on the wall or are nervous about their tech jobs in 2026 with layoffs. Having a pending adjustment of status would allow you to remain in the United States. Even if you weren't able to get a transfer on day 61, you don't have to leave because you're in a period of stay authorized by the Attorney General. You know, the other thing is in the H-1B consulates and travel have become more harder to get the consulate appointment. They've pushed out visa appointments to 2027. Well, if you do EB-5 and you get your advanced parole, you can travel and come back in on that advanced parole and continue down the path. And so there's a lot of flexibility with that, and which is why so many people are looking at it. You know, we are talking about the immigration reality for Indian nationals. There are huge backlogs in EB-2 and EB-3. I can't say it enough. And EB-5 is popular because it's going to get you a green card faster than EB-2 or 3 most likely. You know, if you have a 2015 priority date and you're an Indian national with EB-2, I'm still having some people doing it. You know, if you have a 2020 priority date, you're going to be about 195 by the time that becomes current. And so this is a faster path. And right now we're getting green cards in as quick as 10 to 12 months for rural cases because they have prioritized the processing of those. And so there is the ability to really shorten your immigration process and get to the point of being a green card holder through EB-5. Frankly, the hard part is making the money to invest. And a lot of you guys have already done that. And there are a lot of different ways that you can fund EB-5. But I think that is the harder part. That to me is kind of the harder part to this. If you can afford it, the next hardest part is finding a good project to go with, because your green card is based on the job creation of that project. If the jobs are created and your money is at risk for long enough, those are the conditions for your green card. So it's a job creation program, EB-5 is, with a immigration benefit. And if the project you go with doesn't create the jobs, then you're not going to get the full benefit. So finding a project that is under construction and creating jobs is incredibly important. When people ask me about, hey, can you recommend a project or what's a good project? An immigration attorney can't provide financial advice or investment advice. What we do is we advise as it relates to immigration compliance, EB-5 risk. And really what I think about it from that perspective, it is about making sure that they spend your money and documenting how they spend your money. You don't want anything stopping them from spending your money, because that's how the jobs are created. So when you're evaluating projects, you want to be looking at, do they actually own the land? Do they have the entitlements? Do they have the permits to build? Do they have the architectural and engineering all done? Has that been approved by the city? Do they have a general contractor? Are they under construction? The further they are into the process, the lower the development risk, the more likely that they're going to draw on your money and create the jobs. So that is a huge, huge part of this process. And I'm so glad you guys are here to listen, because Jenny has a great project in a rural area that she'll tell you more about that's under construction. So you're doing the right thing by going to this webinar and learning about the opportunity. In terms of what you need to demonstrate in your individual filing with USCIS, you need to demonstrate that you have made the investment prior to filing, right? So you make the investment, then you file the case. You have to show that the investment funds that you are putting in are lawfully obtained capital. And so you work with an immigration attorney to prepare a legal brief related to your source of funds. And generally, you work with an immigration attorney in parallel of getting your medicals done and finding the right project for you so that you can get your earliest priority date. And just like EB-2 and EB-3, you get your priority date based on when you file your I-526, and that's your spot in the line. And, I do think for Indian nationals that are filing today, it is possible that there is a final action date imposed at some point in the future before your I-526 is approved, and people get stuck in backlogs. The way to sort of quote unquote beat the backlog is to try to find a rural project and hope that that priority processing gets you the adjudication or there's a final action date. And so that's why this is such a great opportunity. And of course, you have to be looking at it from the development risk, from the financial, are they going to repay the money, and all of that type of stuff as well. But for EB-5 purposes, you really, I can't say it enough, focusing on rural, it's going to get you, I think, your green card the fastest. So for source of funds, this is the big part of the immigration attorney's job. And we like to have one-on-one conversations with clients, talking about their source of funds, discussing that strategy. There are a lot of different ways that you can fund an EB-5 investment. If you've gotten RSUs, you can sell those. If you have stocks and brokerage accounts, you can use that and get a margin loan or a security-backed line of credit. You have equity in the home that you purchased in 2021 and now the value has grown, go get a HELOC and use the loan proceeds of that for EB-5. Not a problem. You have funds in your 401k, your wife has funds in a 401k, no problem. You can get a 50K loan for that, and that's 100K more that you can put towards EB-5. There is no requirement, or I should say, EB-5 capital can come from as many sources as you'd like. As long as you can demonstrate that the money is lawfully obtained, there's nothing stopping you from, let's say you have a friend who is loaning you 100K because they had a great year and got a bonus. That works. Show me how your friend earned the money. Show me the loan agreement between you and your friend. It works for EB-5, right? I mean, I've had people even use like credit card advances to do EB-5. So source of funds, there are more options, I think, than just straight having cash. And that's something that you can discuss with an immigration attorney and make sure that you find something that is appropriate for USCIS to file or to approve. Our firm has filed over 6,500 EB-5 cases. Our firm has filed over 15% of all cases since 2022. I haven't gotten a denial on a case that I've put together this decade, because this isn't rocket science. This is show me the money, right? Show me how you earn the money. Show me that you invested the money in the NCE, the fund. Show me how the fund is providing that money to the developer, and show me how the developer is spending the money. That's EB-5. It's complex, but it's actually quite simple. And as long as you can find a project that is going to be supporting you along the way, you can really have a sense of some peace of mind as you go through the process, because they change the rules as it relates to when you can get your money back. And so even if you are stuck in a backlog for whatever reason, if you aren't able to beat it, well, their website currently says, USCIS's website says, yeah, you can get your money back, even if your I-526 hasn't been approved, as long as it meets the sustainment period. Or if it has been approved and you're waiting in a backlog, you can still get your money back. That will not impact your EB-5 eligibility. That is a big change. And that, I think, has impacted whether people are going to do this or not. They're okay with making a shorter term financial investment and waiting in line because it's faster than EB-2 or EB-3. I mean, what else is there? There are very limited options for Indian nationals. It's you know, who are here on H-1B, because the perm process is difficult. The EB-2, 3 backlogs are big. You know, what else is there? You can marry a U.S. citizen, but other than that, there aren't limited options. And so that's kind of the reality for folks, and why so many people are turning towards EB-5. In terms of policy shifts, one of the big policy shifts that I've seen over the past couple of months is a pushback by USCIS for investors that are actively in the process of investing. So the statute and the law say that you can be actively in the process of investing at the time you file the EB-5 petition. That's a pretty vague standard, actively in the process of investing. What exactly does that mean? How much do you have to invest? When does the balance have to be invested? USCIS is being very, very strict on this right now. And they are saying, and I've actually received a notice of intent to deny 90 days after submitting the case. And they had 30 days to respond to it. And the investor had to show at that point that they've made the rest of the money, or actually that they made the rest of the investment and where that money came from. Thankfully, in that one, the funds were liquid and we were able to do it and get the case approved. But I think if you got the funds, you should be doing the full investment and you should be filing with that 800K. I think that is really important right now. You know, partial funding or actively in the process, it's in vogue right now and people are doing it. USCIS is clearly not liking it, and it's something that I think you should stay away from unless you absolutely need to. So that's a big one. You know, other policy shifts that we're seeing, oh man, I mean, immigration law is constantly changing right now. One big thing that the Trump administration seems to be targeting are people who are in the United States in a period of stay authorized by the Attorney General. So that is a sort of quasi status, but it's not lawful status. And so for folks who are in the United States on H-1B, or I actually say the most conservative way to move forward is to stay on your H until at least the I-526 is approved. The reason, if the I-526 is denied, they could deny the adjustment. And if you're not maintaining the H, then you got to go. Again, people can't wait to get away from their H-1B employer and they use their EAD and they're no longer maintaining their H. That's fine, but you at least need to know about the fact that you are no longer in lawful immigration status at that point. You are in a period of stay authorized by Pam Bondi, right? And that is a different status under the law than non-immigrant or immigrant status. I haven't seen EB-5 be picked on too much, but it is a change from the Biden administration to the Trump administration. Overall, though, EB-5 has done very, very well under Democratic and Republican presidents. It has bipartisan support over many years. I fully expect the regional center program to be extended again, like it's been extended, I don't know, a dozen times in the past. And for people who are filing today, before September 30th of 2026, if Congress decides not to extend the program, you are quote unquote grandfathered in and protected from expiring legislation, meaning you would still get the full immigration benefit even if Congress didn't extend the program in the future. And so that security of filing now, of being able to get the EAD in as quick as 6 months, of having a backup plan to remain in the United States in the event something were to happen with the job, and really the lack of other options, that's what's kind of bringing all this together and creating such a demand. 95% of my practice at this point are Indian nationals on H-1B. It has changed. Now EB-5 is, I think, actually more popular in the United States than people outside the United States. And that's another big change that we're seeing. So EB-5 is always sort of on the move, and you need someone who is staying up to date on all of the changes, who you can trust, and who's responsive, because it can be a long-term process. And that's what WR Immigration does. We have a team of over 15 people with over 10 years of EB-5 experience. I really don't think there's another law firm that has the team that we have. I'm incredibly grateful for them because they're amazing, and we welcome the opportunity to help you guys and your family.
Thank you, Joey. We appreciate your incredibly informative overview from a legal perspective. So if
My pleasure.
That's all, we'll move on to Dr. Joseph Pendera to talk about the regional center perspective and their track record.
Thank you, Robin. Can everybody hear me okay?
So I'll make a quick introduction of Dr. Pendera just because he's got such an impressive background. So as does Joey, but from the regional center perspective, we're going to examine how EB-5 projects are selected, structured, and managed over the long term with the introduction of Dr. Joseph Pendera. Dr. Pendera has been working in the EB-5 field since 1998 and has guided the work of establishing EB-5 regional investment centers in Hawaii, California, Texas, and Florida. Dr. Pendera has a distinguished record in both the public and private sector and as a university professor and an executive. He was appointed Senior Fulbright Scholar in Economics, one of the highest scholarly honors in the U.S., and has been identified as one of the top economists in the nation by Knight Kiplinger, editor and publisher of the Kiplinger magazine, the oldest business publication in the U.S. In 2017, he was recognized as one of the foremost economists in the world by the Invest in the U.S. Summit held in Shenzhen, China. He is a recipient of the Paul Harris Medal awarded for outstanding public service and the Ormaz, I apologize if I misrepresent that, Ormaz Medal for his work on behalf of Poland during its transition to a private enterprise economic system. He's been recognized as a financial expert under the New York Stock Exchange and SEC guidelines, and he's a member of the Financial Executives Institute and the National Association of Forensic Economists. Dr. Pendera will introduce Hawaii Economic Investment Corporation's positioning as a USCIS-approved regional center. He'll share his leadership experience and completed EB-5 project history, and he'll outline the core principles behind HEIC's approach to project selection and risk management. He'll also touch on strategic partnership between Hawaii Economic Investment Corporation and Beyond International Management. Welcome, Dr. Pendera.
Thank you, Robin. You're going to post these slides for me to see at the same time?
Correct.
Okay, great. Well, I'm talking to everybody from California. welcome. You'll notice that there's a name under my picture, which is my wife's name. I think I understand how that happened. My wife, former director of Special Olympics, as some of you may know, for kids with Down syndrome for many years, and Google is one of our major sponsors, and I think that's what happened. So I'm apparently on her account now, so that's not my name, that's my wife's name. I may be interrupted because I have a gigantic golden retriever, and when he sees me in here, he usually tries to knock the doors open. So if there's something clack, it's not a raid of any kind, it's my golden retriever trying to say hello after he's eaten his dinner. I notice a number of folks are from H-1B. I should mention that I have been the dean at the University of Miami, Ohio, and in California. And I get these situations all the time about what happens for somebody who's very technically expert and now suddenly is faced with the prospect of having to return home. And this is an important area, obviously, for us who have been in education for many years, but it's also something that we're used to handling. And so one of the things I wanted to emphasize is that we believe in our particular centers that this is a matter of personal touch. You're making, as Robin said, you're making a very important personal decision that not only involves your family, but your future. And I've been in this business for quite some time. I actually testified before Congress, at least on 2 reauthorizations. And at each time, as Joey said, we were successful because the program has produced tremendous results for communities, obviously for folks that wanted to fast track to the United States. And so what makes our centers a little different is that we believe in the personal touch. We don't have a huge bureaucracy. If you were to contact us, I can assure you within 24 hours, you would get a reply, and within 7 days, you'd get a solution. And we really believe that that's what makes us really different. As far as the Hawaii project is concerned, you'll see some data up there about the CIC as a legacy center. So let me say that the Legacy Center, CIC Legacy Center, is a result of our going through a very extensive audit under the legislation that Mr. Barnett talked about, which is the Reform and Integrity Act. I think we were one of the first 10 centers, they told us, at the USCIS audit. And a legacy center means that you've been successful, you've been there a long time, you haven't had any complaints, any compliance issues, and so on. And now they're telling you that you've cleared your audit path, which is very, very important because a lot of these centers are not going to do that. In fact, they're not going to survive for a variety of reasons, most of which are they've become too big, too impersonal, and in many ways, they've had too many other problems. So I think the important thing here is that at the HEIC, the Hawaii Economic Investment Center, that's my dog banging on my door, by the way. And now he's crying. So I may have to get up and let him in. So excuse me. Hold on a second. I'm going to be right back. Sorry.
With that, I will go to the next slide that relates to what he's speaking about.
Honey, I'm in this seminar. Guests can't come in. The kitchen can't come in, okay? Sorry.
After COVID, we all understand. We all.
I knew this was going to happen. Sorry.
At least you're wearing pants.
And at least your dog really loves you.
He does love me.
Yeah.
So one of the things we decided to do with Hawaii, some of you may know there was a very bad fire in Lahaina that literally destroyed in a flash fire. And what we did is, the first thing we did is we said, we're not going to treat this as a project for a center, because that's not what our goal is. Our goal is to create projects that create jobs and support communities. And so we organized in the Central Valley, California. We have the breadbasket of the world, literally. We have 5 of the top 6 counties in the country for producing agriculture. So what I did is I got on iHeartRadio, sent out an appeal. We put 2 million pounds of food for relief into Hawaii in a matter of weeks. We got Matson to ship it. We got logistical support from the governor's office. And as a result of that, we have very, very strong relationships in Hawaii. And so what that means in effect is that Hawaii is a relatively different state if you look at it from the point of view of size. It has 1.1 million people and as a population, but it has 10 to 12 million people that visit. It's probably one of the most beautiful places in the world. What we have here is a big advantage for you is that we have rural counties, which means that we get certain preferences, which I'm sure you're aware of. But the biggest thing there is sort of like an additional set aside, if you will, for rural investors, which is huge. So we made an investment in Hawaii before we even had a project. We made an investment in communities to show them that we really care about them and we can support them. And that's been tremendous because now our outreach is right to the governor and to the senators and the representatives that are there. And that's an important thing, is to maintain that. We have the same thing in our center in California. We know the local communities, and you'll see, can you move to the next slide, please? So I think you might have skipped one. I think, there's one, I think there's one before that, Robin. Go to the next one. That's it. There we go. Nope. One back. One more back. That one. Stay with that one. So our regional centers have been around a long time. Obviously, you can see by my gray hair, I've been around a long time too. And what we have tried to do is make sure that 100% of our projects are fully completed, fully funded, and that we don't get people rejected. And to do that, we have to be very, very careful, as Joey said, about the documentation and compliance. This is a path that's filled with paperwork, unfortunately, from the offering documents to the petitions and so on. And nobody should have to be an expert. My feeling is nobody should have to be an expert in EB-5 in order to get through the EB-5 process. There should be expertise, obviously, at the legal level and at the regional center level and at the project level, so that all you really have to do is depend upon the center's reputation, experience, the legal representation's experience and values, and of course, the project's experience and values. And so when we go through a project, what we do is we make sure that we're working from the back, from back to front as opposed to front to back, meaning that our objective here is to get you a green card and to get you your money back and to get your family settled in a way that's comfortable. We have a full-time staff. If people call us and they want to know about where to put their kids in school, where to open a bank account, we do that. We have an operations manager that is very careful about responding to personal needs. So what makes it a little different is that we're not a giant bureaucracy. We obviously have many, many investors, very successful investors. We've had almost $4 billion in capital invested in total projects since we've been in business. We have obviously people that feel confident in what we do. So we have a project network, if you will, which includes the top attorneys, obviously Joey's firm. We include our former economist for USAS, works with us very closely. We have people who know the methods for job creation forwards and backwards, which are very important, because at the end of this process, your attorney's going to ask for the proof of job creation. And so we track those jobs very carefully. We submit annual reports. We comply with annual reports. As a result of this work, a few years ago, we got what is called the NES Financials Best Practices Award, which means they've gone through this process as an escrow agent, following and tracking the investor funds and so on. And they felt very confident that what we were doing was meeting all the best practices. And of course, we read every element and every word of the RIA for compliance purposes. We go through all the training sessions. We have booths at ALA, typically at the national conference, so that people recognize us and know what we're doing and so on. But again, it gets down to the personal touch. You go one more. Next slide, please, Robin. Okay, these are some of our projects. In fact, Jenny, who you're going to meet in a moment, who's the head of Beyond Global, is going to be visiting us in one of our projects in Keys, California. We have also been very involved with NextEra, which is a very large energy company throughout the world. Those projects have been successfully performed, and the money's coming back to the investors. We have a project, I don't know if it's identified here. We also got approval in Nevada, yes, Clark County, Nevada, for a Silver State project. All of these projects are very highly successful. They've already been done. Investors are going through the process and they're getting their money back. Next slide, please. Next slide, Robin. Perfect. So obviously, we have a value system we wanted to communicate to you. And incidentally, as a dean, I try not to talk at people. I try to enter a dialogue. So I'm very interested in the question and answer period that's going to go on after you be with Jenny. So what we do is we collaborate with you so that you feel that you're not a number. You're going to get a number, obviously, from USAS, but you're not a number to us. You're a real life person with real life issues that need to be resolved. And everybody's a snowflake in the world. Everyone's different. So after about 25 years in this industry, or 30, almost 30 years in the industry, I've seen just about every issue and every problem that can come up. And director of the center, which is Michael Pindera, who actually works out of Sacramento. I work out of the Central Valley. Operations are all over basically Hawaii and California. We do end-to-end immigration support, which means that we actually go through the projects to vet them. Took quite a while to get through the first project to make ourselves very comfortable with what Jenny does and what Beyond Global does. And I can tell you, you're going to be in very good hands in this project. It's a great project, which you'll hear in a moment. We make sure that we stay with you through the entire time. The entire time for us is through the I-829, which is your petition for your green card. And so we don't leave you after your money's in there and the money's invested and the jobs have been created. We are there continuously. And we record everything. We have a CRM, a customer relation management program that tracks everything you do from the time you make your first call and you make your first contact to the time you end. So we know exactly when you called us, what your issues were, how we resolved it. All the documents that are attached to it are completely flowing through the process. We track your funds very, very carefully as well, and we make sure the funds are being applied appropriately. We have obviously a lot of, as I mentioned before, partners collaborating with us. I won't go through all of them, but I can tell you that each one of those is really in step with what we try to do. And when we have a problem, we call immediately, and we make sure our partners are well paid, by the way. And the reason for that is obvious. You want to have the very, very best people working for you. I should mention, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this before, but I never take a salary and never have taken a salary from any one of these centers. And the reason for that is my dad, my family's immigrant family as well. My dad lost his job. He was burned in the Second World War. I realized how important a job is to a person, a community, to a nation, because it gives you a commitment in what you're doing. And so we make sure that the jobs are created, which is really a big part of your approval process. We make sure they're created, they're sustained, and so on. And I felt the purpose of this, just like my career in education, was to prepare people for the workforce, prepare them for being able to support their families, and prepare them to make a contribution to the community. And one of the rare things about this particular pathway that I should mention is that one of the aspects of legal immigration that is often overlooked, but it's in every piece of legislation that's been filed since the 1800s. In 1864 was the first piece of legal immigration legislation. Created the Border Patrol, created a number of agencies, was in the Department of Treasury initially. And the reason the Department of Treasury is that each person who came through had to identify a contribution that they were making to the country. They either paid fees or they were skilled workers or whatever. EB-5 has a really different community in that sense. Many of these folks are extremely well educated that come through, like many of you are. They have been successful in businesses and so on. But the one thing that makes this very different is that you are making an investment in the country that's very recognizable and very recognizable to the communities that you're in. And although this investment is substantial, it is part of a larger investment of other partners that are in that same investment with you. So it's very, very different. It's a great pathway for everyone, including the nation. We're very transparent in what we do, which means that we're going to issue you reports. We're going to follow up, obviously, with the project. They're going to make reports, and we're going to make reports to USAS, and those annual reports will be on file. The project information will be on file. So we're going to be kind of dealing with all the relationships among stakeholders as a center, as sort of a three-ring or a pronged situation where people on the various elements of this relationship are going to know that we're there providing continuous support. Next slide, please. Next slide.
Little mouse trouble here.
Okay. You're going to meet Jenny in a moment. You're going to be very impressed. I can tell you that. She has a tremendous amount of experience in the industry and projects and so on. And I know that she vetted that project thoroughly because it took a long time to develop that project. And they talk about projects that are shovel ready, and this particular project is definitely shovel ready. And so she'll talk about that as well. But it's not something that you should take lightly, because the project success is going to mean quite a bit, if not everything, to your success with respect to the EB-5 process. And so we have turned down, probably since I've been doing projects, which is 15, 16 years in our center and another 10 years in other centers, we turn down probably 9 out of every 10 projects we get. We get hotels, we get manufacturing, we get people who want to make baskets in New Mexico. We've had just about every type of project, soccer fields, you name it. And what we do is we make sure, again, that we imagine ourselves at the end of the project, and how sure are we going to be that the project's going to be around, it's going to be successful, and it's going to return the money. That's the criteria we use. And that requires a lot of technical interaction on offering documents, business plans, site plans, everything that goes into the documentation, which incidentally, for a center is over 2,000 pages. Our application for regional center was over 2,000 pages. And so we had to document everything that we do to become technically educated, if you will, in the projects that we sponsor and the oversight we provide. With respect to regulatory credibility, we think we have that not only in the project but in the center. We have obviously investor outreach. Our centers have now encompassed well over 70 countries, many of them from India. We actually have a project that has two sister plants operating in India, one of which is going to go to initial public offering, which will support one of the other projects that we have in California, in fact, that Jenny's going to see. So we understand the Indian environment. We understand the difficulty getting money out. We have many investors from all over the world. China, obviously, is a big one for EB-5, but we have Brazil and Saudi Arabia and China and Europe and you name it. And again, we don't see these as numbers, we see it as real life people. As far as real estate expertise goes, I know Jenny has that. I should mention that Michael, who's the director of our center, worked for Beazer Homes for many years. He was the regional vice president. He knows everything from the project planning to the closing and the financing. And so when he speaks to developers and so on, and he speaks to people like Jenny and her team, they're speaking the same language, which is really, really important. The last thing is about professionalism and transparency and so on. The RIA, the Reform and Integrity Act that was passed in 22, we testified, we provided information to the Rural Alliance, which was as Joey knows, one of the big participants in that, and to Senator Grassley. Senator Grassley actually visited our office in Cupertino, and we got to talk to him about what was going on there. I have been in contact with others that have been on that legislation. And of course, they include a lot of people that you're probably going to recognize by name. I won't go through this other than to say that everything we do is open. It's transparent. It's important for us to have the truth as our guide, to have a moral compass in what we do. And I don't think you're going to find anybody that's been in contact with the center that's going to say otherwise. They're going to tell you that these are people that are very, very close to us. And we are now in another 2 or 3 generations of investors, of families that have come through our center because they were successful in the first go around, and now they are in the second and third. So I will stop. I think that's my last slide, right, Robin?
Well, we do have a question for you. So, and I'll get back to Joey. We've got a couple questions for you as well. But while we're on this topic, how would you evaluate the management team and the Hawaii project itself, especially in comparison with many other projects you've worked on recently? I know you spoke to this a little bit, but maybe a bit more detail.
So I have a private checklist, Jenny doesn't know this, of 10 different things. And one of them includes staying out of trouble. Another one includes vetting individuals, and we went through that as well. And then we go into experience base, And then we go into long-term commitment because we don't want to be involved with projects that are going to come and go. And then we drill down into the projects itself. For example, the developer is very important in these projects. And then we look at financing and so on. And I rate each one of the 10 on a 1 to 10 basis. So the best score is 100 and she got 100. So
Well, thank you, Dr. Pavlova. I
I
didn't know
Love that.
I
And
I couldn't tell her that because I don't want to I want her to more or less, I don't want her to fear me, but I want her to respect me a little bit, that I do my job and that I'll ask questions and so on. So even though I'm older and so on, I really want a cooperative relationship with everybody. And we feel very, very confident in her team. We've met quite a bit of her team now, and we're going to see more of her because she's coming to visit us in another week or so. But I think you're going to be in really great. Whoever asked that question is a great question. You're going to be in really good hands.
And this is a similar question, but as the head of the regional center, what risk control factors do you prioritize most when selecting projects, and what specific details should individual investors look at to assess a project's safety? Again, I think you spoke to some of that, but.
So the couple of things that are going to be kind of under the covers, which you may not hear from other people, is one, we want to make sure that the project has skin in the game. They own the assets, the underlying assets. They have good relationship with banks. Their financing is strong. We don't want this to be 100% EB-5 financing. We want other people's money involved in it. We want to make sure that they're, again, the risk with the developer, they have to be an experienced developer, a developer that has the ability to get permitting and planning done very quickly. All that's in the project already. We want to look at what happens at the end of the project in terms of things like, and during the project, like paying the annual distributions of interest to the investors, important, meaning that obligation. We want to look at how they keep their records and how they conform. When we ask for a report, incidentally, I think Joey may know this, but there is a 10-day audit rule in USCS. You have to be prepared for an audit, which is called a unannounced audit. In 10 days, you have to produce everything. And so what we do is if we send something to a project, we want them to respond in 3 to 5 days max. And so when I dealt with Jenny and her team, they're always extremely responsive, and more than that, they're actually adding to the information that we never really requested, but they have it in abundance. I don't know if that answers your question, but I think the risk level with this particular project, particularly since a rural project, which are very hard to come by these days, as you probably know, because the threshold is better and the prioritization is better and the whole system gets advanced for rural projects. I think we have a great team in her team, and we have a great team to support it, and we have a team on the ground that is community based and knows us and so on. That I think it's relatively speaking is always a risk in everything we do. So I don't want to ever tell anybody there's no risk, because this investment by law is at risk, meaning that there's no guarantee. But there's a provision in the actual underlying case that was adjudicated called the matter of Ho, which is oriented towards providing reasonable assurance that the project will be successful and the money will be returned. And reasonable to us is a low standard. Reasonable means that you're kind of hoping and guessing about what's going on. We exceed that. We want to have a standard that I worked as a senior economist for 5 different banks, and I can tell you I use those criteria in terms of making loans in the same way I do with project vetting projects. And so I think the risk is relatively low here, in my view.
Thank you. I'll save a few of the questions for the end, but thank you, Dr. Pembera. You have a phenomenal background, and I love hearing how thoughtful your approach is and that the cycle doesn't just end with the project. Our team at Beyond International is fortunate to partner with both of you, and you are both passionate about what you do. So now I would like to introduce our CEO of Beyond International, Ginny Zahn. Ginny is a CFA, and she's the founder and CEO of Beyond Holding Company, Beyond, an alternative investment management firm specializing in private credit-backed real estate assets. She oversees the company's strategic direction and day-to-day operations while leading its 2 core business lines, commercial real estate finance and investment immigration. Under Ms. Zahn's leadership, Beyond's commercial real estate assets under management have exceeded $350 million, and the company was ranked on the Inc. 5000 list of America's fastest growing private companies in both 2024 and 2025. In the investment immigration field, Ms. Zahn is also a recognized industry leader. She received the International Contribution Award from IIUSA, the leading EB-5 industry association in the United States. The regional centers under her management have helped over 700 investors obtain U.S. green cards, successfully returning more than $100 million in capital to investors. With the policy context and regional framework in mind, we want to now focus on the project itself. Jenny will introduce Beyond International Management, provide a deep dive into the Hawaii Big Island EB-5 project, and explain the project structure, background, and key strengths, along with why it stands out in today's environment. I'll turn it over to Jenny.
Thank you, Robin, and thank you to our honored guests, Joey and Dr. Pavara. You know, I have a little bit pressure, you know, behind those legendary figures. Now, what is Beyond? Beyond is the NECE manager for this project. And what we have done, how we can be a good NCE manager. So like Robin just mentioned, Beyond International is a subsidiary of Beyond Holding US. And our group is specialized in commercial real estate private investment, assets management, and of course, as part of commercial real estate investment, EB-5 contributes important roles. Therefore, we're also involved in investment migration. So the group of subsidiaries, we currently oversee over than $400 million in real estate assets and development projects across North America, spanning from residential, multifamily, retail, office, and greenhouse sectors. Our dedicated investment and assets management teams have extensive hands-on experiences across a wide range of debt and equity structures and actively manages assets level operations on a day-to-day basis. On the investment immigration side, our core team has assisted over 1,200 families in obtaining immigration status since 2014. More importantly, Beyond integrate its private equity fund management expertise directly into our role in NCE management, which is the key fiduciary role representing EB-5 investors' interests. This includes project underwriting, due diligence, risk assessment, budget management, financial oversight and reporting, compliance, and very important, crisis management. In addition to that, supported by our capital raising capability, Beyond is also able to introduce supplemented capital alongside with EB-5 capital when it needed. Now, for this specific project, Robin, please move to the next page. For this specific project, we actually have $20 million US committed alongside. So before the EB-5 money comes in, and our bridge loan already in the project help for the project to finish its pre-development and start construction. And I'm glad to tell our audience now the current project already created about 100 jobs, and it's underway and successfully. And the last review with our developer, which was about 2 days ago, the project is actually slightly ahead of schedule. Let's go to next page. So I know a lot of audience are quite familiar with regional centers, and I didn't see much questions about the NCE managers. So what NCE managers do? Why the investors what investors should have to raise the questions on the NCE managers. And investors should ask, how does NCE manager's interest is aligned with investors' interest? Because NCE manager is the most important role, play the important role in the project side. And how does the NCE management team identify and retain high quality rural projects? I attended the EB-5 Investors Conference just a week ago. Probably some of the audience today probably saw us, in the conference. And in the conference, there are some speakers talking about it's so hard to find good quality rural projects, which is true. And therefore, an NCE manager literally want to secure a good project. They really have to go back and forth, deal with good quality developers, and looking for, the detailed nuts and bolts and tighten all these. And, a good developers, good project, never lack of money, I tell you guys. And a lot of them, they don't need EB-5 money. And those projects don't need EB-5 money, which is the best project for us to looking for. And they come to EB-5 for only one reason, is EB-5 capital is relatively cheap. That's all. And we will, in our practice, we actually bring in the institution due diligence standard to EB-5 projects. For this project alone, because developer is well known in the real estate industry, and it has 70 years, billions dollars successful development. It is chased by the commercial real estate investment world. And if you enter the IMN, and this company usually receive loyal treatment because all the brokers, all the fund providers want to work with them. So it took us about 9 months and made dozens of rounds, tough negotiations for us land this project. Now, also very important, when something goes wrong, us as NCE manager have to jump on, have to have the team capacity available, and also we also have to provide the fundings to rescue the project. So therefore, it is always very important for us to get it right from the beginning and always prepared. If something goes wrong, our team will be always ready and our capital will be always ready to save investors from distressed situations. Now, that's what I will feel proud beyond is among compared a lot of our projects, we set a very high bar, high standard for the projects we pick, and we prepare every day. And if something happens, we will provide we will oversee the execution, the completion closely. And if anything happened, we have the way to resolve it, help the smoothly executed projects. Let's go to the next page. The unique about us, you guys probably heard a lot of EB-5 projects. I know today's audience are very smart engineers. By the way, I was a former F1. My immigration status went through F1, H1B, EB-2, national interest waiver, and to become U.S. citizen. So I went through all the tough paths as a lot of you experience. I really, really have empathy about your experience. And the day I become a U.S. citizen, I told myself, and in the future, I will do my best to help the people like me. And I have to remember the tough experience I had, went through while chasing the U.S. While chasing the American dream. I will do my best to protect the people like me and making their American dream pass more smoothly. This was the goal for Beyond. This is the goal for ourselves and what will remind us every day. Now, what makes us different? I understand EB-5 is a tough path. A lot of regional center, a lot of projects actually, thinking it's a great opportunity, for them to keep the EB-5 money longer. And this company is different. Why? It's different. In our PPM, and we've written clearly, okay, not only if your I-526E is denied, if your I-526E is denied, we will return your capital in 3 months. Well, one other thing is very unique for us. If you withdraw from immigration, then within 6 months, we will return your capital. Because why are we writing this? Because we saw, in the EB-5s before RIA time, a lot of EB-5 projects, hold investment capital because of redeployment, because have to stay in the risk. A lot of projects took advantage of situation, kept all those investors forever. But we try to make the difference. We try to, make that happen. If your sustainable period is over, your immigration is over, you want to withdraw, okay. And we try to give your capital back, within 6 months. Very few, immigration, very few PPM, if you guys look at PPM, actually put this withdraw I-526E status into the PPM. That makes us stand out and different. Let's go to the next page. Now, the project is under construction. It has all the permits and all the requirements. You complete all the requirements. Now it's well under construction. The project is located in Big Island, Hawaii. And it's about like 35 minutes away from Kona International Airport. And the project itself is in our development, we only need about 30 EB-5 investors. And the required capital is about 24 million. But among that, if our capital beyond investment capital is always ready, we commit about $20 million, just in case while the projects progress quickly, while EB-5 raising is behind schedule, and our capital can always lead investors and put into work and make sure the project can work out smoothly. That's helped us win the respect from the developers and help us secure a good quality projects, from developers. Now, the project itself creates sufficient jobs for the investors. We can take a look about that later. Let's go to that page. Next page. Now, the project itself is located, we call the Ocean View, could have Ocean View project. It is not far from the ocean side. It's on the uphill with the 120 townhouse project. Well, on every balcony of those 120 townhouse project, you can have a very gorgeous sunset views from your balcony. And the project is well priced. And, I will consider as medium priced in Hawaii. Probably a lot of people you may not know, Hawaii is always shortage of housing. And at this location and this resort area, and even before our project going to real pro-sale stage, we already have people line up interested in the project. And because the pricing itself is only about around $1.5 million, and compared to a lot of resorts surrounding in the area, it is half of the price. So that's why it attracts a lot of people. Now let's go to next page. Now, of course, the project have a lot of other highlights. I want to emphasize on this project is a first lien pledged collateralized project. And the project itself is already creating jobs. And we do get the support from a legacy regional center and also have a 70 years experience, another legacy, developer team supporting us. And let's go to next page. The project itself has skin in the game, not only beyond will provide and already have provided bridge loan for the project. The project also have developers capital and other capitals supported by developer sources. And the EB-5 only counts a very small portion and about like 13-14% of EB-5 portion. And the rest of the money is supported by other sources. That's going down. And you've probably heard a lot of projects tell you their first lien senior project, but very few projects not only provide senior lien, have senior lien protections, but also will make it public. We filed a UCC for this project. This is very unique. We are also ready to show anyone interested our pledge agreement and our ownership certificate. Let's go to next page. And during our development and real estate investment and development process, we understand the major problem for any real estate development is project delay and cost overrun. So in the project, we participate. We always request the developers provide two guarantees. One, completion guarantees. This is very important to ensure jobs will be created and you will get green card. And maximum cost guarantee. This is also very important. That means the project can finish on time and also can be profitable, and it is make sure your investors can get the money back. So this is that is very unique, compared to a lot of other projects, especially rural projects. Let's go to next page. Now, in the Kona area, which is a very unique, beautiful area in Big Island, and it captured a lot of natural, precious areas, on Big Island. In this area, because of environmental preservation, in the last 45 years, only 3 resource projects are approved. And all of 3 of them, including this one, was approved for the development by our affiliate, our developers, our JCE developers, which is the water group. And the 2 projects are all very successful and not far from our our development area. Now, this is our development area. Those 2 actually just next, adjacent to each other, within just miles. And the project itself is under construction. Please go to the next page. And those pictures are from the sites on January 12th. If anyone is interested, we also have to keep on asking them to send us video almost every week so we can watch what's going on. And by the way, I also, at this moment, I also invite any investors, potential investors interested in the project and talk with Robin and our other, client representative people. And we are going to organize a visit tour on February 19, from February 19 to February 22. And we will organize potential investors visit Kona and visit the sites so you will see by yourself how the project's progress is. And let's go to next page. And in the middle, because of our progress, and the project right now is in the sidewalk and quickly will enter the vertical construction stage. And at this stage, we are also in the process get pre-sale approval, and the pre-sale is expected to launch in 2025. So it is like Dr. Barbara mentioned about and Joey mentioned about, if we are way deeper in the development. Let's go to the next page. So hopefully, at this moment, if you are interested in project, feel free to leave any questions. We can answer a lot of questions to you directly. And we also look forward see you in Kona and in Big Island.
So I will go back to, first of all, I do want to say thank you again to all of our speakers. So Joey, Dr. Pinber, and, for your insight, your steady guidance today, your willingness to share real world experience and a long-term perspective. It really makes a meaningful difference for the families listening, and we're truly grateful for the opportunity to work alongside you. So we do want to move along. We do have some questions for Joey for actually each of our speakers today, but if there are any additional questions, please submit those in the chat. Time might be limited, so we will encourage you to post them as soon as possible, and we'll do our best to address those. But if you have additional questions, you can scan the QR code at the bottom of your screen to connect with our team. And we encourage you to follow our website and social media channels, and we'll be hosting a series of related events in the future, so you won't want to miss those. And as a next step, as Jenny mentioned, we will be organizing an on-site project visit to the Hawaii Big Island, where interested participants will have the opportunity to visit the project, review the construction, and conduct in-person diligence. So we can definitely help you with any questions related to that. But
yeah, Robert, let's open the floor. Any questions?
Yes. So let's go to Joey. So does the 18-month EAD validity reduce one of the advantages of EB-5? The timeline for getting EAD is getting delayed. Also, conditional green card are taking 30+ months. Is this true? What are your thoughts?
So in November, the Trump administration cut the validity for EAD cards from 5 years to 18 months. And that includes for EB-5 applicants that file adjustment of status. Yes, it is impacting the benefit. The interim benefit is shorter. There's no doubt about that. But overall, it doesn't do anything as it relates to getting the green card. In practice, what it means is that you may have to file an extension or two in order to cover that time. You generally can file an extension 6 months prior to the expiration of the validity. If the processing times keep going up, and they have been, and you're using that EAD, and there are possibilities for work stoppages in that instance. So it's not great. The other thing is that they got rid of the auto extension when you file the renewal. So before, you had an additional 540 days. Once you file the extension, they got rid of that as well. They're making it harder. What we are doing is filing lawsuits the same way that we filed lawsuits for unreasonable delays on EADs during COVID. And I fully expect to win every single one of those because their own federal rules and sort of policy says it takes them about 12 minutes to adjudicate an EAD, right? It's just looking at it. Do you have the AOS filed? Yep. Approved. That's all you need. There's no real discretion or anything like that for these EADs. So it's just getting your case in front of the adjudicator, and that's what a mandamus lawsuit will do. Overall, though, it doesn't impact where you are in the line to get the actual green card. In terms of, how long will it take to get the conditional green card? It is dependent on the visa category that you go with. I do believe that rural will give you the green card the fastest. And that's based on simply the visa availability, the 20% set aside that goes to rural, as well as the fact that there are less otherwise unused numbers, visa numbers, going to the rest of the world, meaning that Chinese nationals and Indian nationals are actually going to be able to get more than the 7% cap or per country limit because there's these extra supply of visa numbers that they don't want to waste. I generally have been telling folks anywhere from 3 to 7 years for an Indian national today filing to get a conditional green card. I understand there are people shouting from the rooftop, hey, I got my conditional green card in 10 months, in 12 months. They are, absolutely. They are getting those. We're getting them. But it's current right now in the visa bulletin, and we don't know if it's going to be current when your I-526E is approved, and it needs to be in order for USCIS to have the authority to adjudicate the adjustment. That's why I said earlier, going with a rural project that has that prioritized processing, I think will, if you really push aggressively, I think you can potentially beat the backlog still, although we don't really know. I hope I answered that question.
Yes, and this is somewhat related. So do you have any predictions on when EB-5 rural categories will retrogress? I know we can't tell a definitive date, but they would like to know your predictions.
So visa final action date can only occur when the supply of visa numbers is less than the demand. The Department of State only counts demand when an adjustment of status application is approved or when a U.S. consulate issues the visa. They do not look at I-526E approvals. They do not look at I-526E receipts. The consulates in Mumbai and the consulate in Guangzhou are not scheduling enough reserve visa interviews, and USCIS is not approving enough adjustments for the demand to exceed the supply. So I do a monthly webinar with Charlie Oppenheim. He's the guy who wrote the visa bulletin for 23 years at the Department of State. And I just listen to what he says. And his prediction is that he doesn't think that we're going to see any FAD in this fiscal year because of these bureaucratic delays by the consulates and USCIS. So I think there is still a runway here for you guys to be able to get your green card and before there's a final action date.
Okay, another question for you, Joey. They want to get a home equity line of credit loan for the property they acquired in 2014. How do they prove that they paid for the down payment from a legitimate source if the bank statements are not there and the bank doesn't keep things older than 7 years? W-2 and tax returns are there.
Great question. The standard is preponderance of the evidence to show that this money was lawfully obtained. If you have W-2s and tax returns and the closing statement, I still feel like we can get your case approved even if you don't have the bank statement. It's about telling a story that is credible and preparing it in a way that makes it easy to understand. Yeah, you did have a job back in 2012, 13, 14, and that's how you earn the money to purchase or for the down payment. And we also will prepare a source of fund declaration. to sort of help fill in the holes, that generally should suffice for EB-5.
Okay. To continue, so what are the common RFEs that you have seen recently? And also, what are some issues that you've dealt with USCIS?
One of the big things that they pick on is evidence of accumulation and maintenance of funds. And that really requires a lot of bank statements. And I think that's why the last question was talking about that. So let's say you got a big salary in 2024 at the end of the year, and that went into your checking account. And now in 2026, you want to use money from that checking account for EB-5. They're going to want to see that the money remained in your account from 2024 until to date. You can't just show the incoming credit in December of 2024 and the outgoing debit in 2026, because you could have moved the money in between. This could be different money. And so you got to show all of those statements. That's a very common thing that I think more inexperienced attorneys don't get. They think they only want to see the actual transaction. No, that will absolutely result in a request for evidence. They want to see the full maintenance of funds. Are they actually looking at the bank statements? Our files are yay big. Are they actually looking at the bank statements? Well, but you better put it in, because they're going to issue a request for evidence if you don't. The other thing is, if there are other incoming credits into that account, let's say you got a gift of $20,000 from an uncle in January of 2025 after your bonus came in December 2024. Now we are talking about the issue of commingling. So whose money is it? Which money is it? You can't just say, oh, no, that 20K, don't forget about that. You have to document how uncle earned money to gift to you, or at least have an explanation for it, because they are going to be looking for credits that are 5 digits or looking for patterns of 4-digit credits. And they'll ask about it because they want to make sure that this money was lawfully obtained. The source of fund stuff can be really, really tricky. And I really advise folks, you got to work with an experienced EB-5 attorney. This is not like an H-1B perm that is bread and butter for immigration attorneys. You need someone who knows what they're doing to prepare your case. It's absolutely critical.
Okay. Let's see. This is a question for Ginny. Are there certain types of EB projects you'd personally stay away from, even if the numbers look good?
You mean EB-5 project?
EB-5 projects that you would personally stay away from, even if the numbers look good?
I stay away 90%, 95% of projects. Every time I go to conference, I always been chased by project side. Take a look and do this project. Frankly, the projects I'm looking at, very important, of course, in the rural area, especially you have to think about that. Location. Real estate project is location, and for rural project, it's definitely location. It's even more important. That's why you see a lot of resort project, and I want only pick the world-renowned results, have different source, different type of tourist group. That's why Hawaii is always in our #1 choice for rural project. And you want a good developer, a very good, high quality, first tier U.S. developers. The good thing is we know those developers, as real estate investment company, we can access top tier real estate developers. And we know them inside out. We know their quality, we know their weakness. And a lot of time they probably don't want EB-5. And we want to deal with the people, have other source of fund and don't want EB-5, only take EB-5 if we promise we can raise the money. And if we only promise, we show them our capability. So the only reason they use EB-5 money is because of relatively, attractive in terms of price, in profit, in returns. That's all. So, and we wanted the project, developers has the skin in the game, just like Dr. Prabhara mentioned about that. And in the latest stage, have all the permissions get approved. When you sign the guarantees, warranty to put us, into the UCC filing as a first lien and in the senior position.
Okay.
And so in the process, let me put it this way. Real estate has a lot of projects. Resorts have different types. We prefer the for sale houses, over like hotels, and different real estate have different risk level. It's naturally built in different the different risk level. Hotels have highest cap rates in any category. There's a reason behind it, because it's high risk. And then risk will be, like a shopping center goes to next level in terms of risk, and office building certainly is over there. And there is, but some risk is much lower. That means for sale houses, and especially those like a single family townhouses, and they don't require, build residential house. They don't like an apartment. You have to build, 5-story, 6-story all together, and the construction risk is much lower and much easy to develop a 2-story single family home, and also townhouses. We also look comparable. Real estate is our business. We also do the comparable prices, compare in the regions. And it's those prices accessible? Is that sellable? And we sometimes in the resort area ask ourselves, ask our clients, what you have interested to buy. And after all these things get passed, then we decided we can pick this project. Now, and I have to say, from the hundreds of rural projects we studied, this is the crown jewel we find. That's why we spent 9 months and many rounds of negotiation, and finally get the deal and put all those completion guarantee and maximum cost guarantees on that, and allow to file UCC to show our first positions to the public.
Okay. Oh, Joey.
Can I just make a mention on something? Because I think it's really important that there's no requirement in EB-5 for you to get repaid. Okay?
Yes.
You can get the full immigration benefit and still lose the money. Obviously, you don't want that to happen. And like with anything else in life, there are projects that are higher return, higher risk, lower return, lower risk. They both work for EB-5. It's about finding the one that's right for you. When I, the question is are there things that you stay away from? Well, yeah, if they don't have the entitlements and you're waiting on a city to approve, forget about it. What happens if they don't? Right? Then they can't move forward on the project. So forget about it. The other thing that I generally stay away from are equity deals. Because how do you get repaid on equity? You have to operate or sell. That's it. With a loan agreement, there's a term on a loan. If there's senior loan collateral, if they don't repay the loan, there's collateral that you can foreclose on, presumably, that has value. The same way that a bank would foreclose on your home if you don't pay the mortgage. So it's, you are kind of sacrificing return on investment for protection against the downside. And I think that is incredibly important. You can have the same EB-5 project with different types of financing and different levels of financial risk. And so that's a big part of this. You have to, it's more than just immigration that you're looking at.
And related to that, well, first of all, we had 2 questions from an individual. So we can definitely share the PPM and the rest of the documents. You can reach out to myself and anyone at Beyond International directly. The information will be provided. You can scan the QR code and we'll get that to you. But Jenny, so we've got a question. He agrees with most of what you said. He wants to know, what does this project offer on ROI?
Our ROI is low, and that's the reason we become competitive to secure the project. Like a lot of ROIs, like a lot of EB-5 project, and you get payments about like 0.25%. If you are willing to pay, but consider about that, for those get low payments and you don't even pay administration fees.
And what past successful experiences can Beyond share in helping investors mitigate repayment risk?
Say it again. Can
So with
Beyond
respect
help?
to the Hawaii project, what past successful experiences can Beyond share in helping investors mitigate the repayment risk?
We have a lot of past experience to share, and because the most important things for us is, like I mentioned, Beyond actually committed about 20 million bridge loan, aside, our own capital assigned, and we will, if the project runs into trouble and not on schedule for whatever reason happen, our capital will come in behind the investors and help finish the project. At the same time, our capital will help, replace the investors if investors for some reason withdraw from EB-5 investment or reach this sustainable period for created jobs. That's very, very unique compared to other projects.
Correct. Well, at this time, so back to Dr. Penrose, there is a question as far as the regional center is concerned. How does the regional center ensure sufficient job creation throughout the project's operation? And if there is any shortfall or discrepancy in job calculations, what contingency measures are in place to protect investors' green card applications? So I know this falls between Penrose and something that we can also respond to, but thought I'd go ahead and give that question to him.
Dr. Barbara, you muted yourself, please. Unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you. Got that. So every one of our projects is subjected to a job creation study. This particular study was done by a very well-known economist. We usually use our own in-house stuff, but this case, Jenny got a very well-known economist I've met many times, worked with many times. So the mandate is that the direct, induced, and indirect jobs are 10 for each investor. Jenny, can you remember what the multiple on that study?
40, over 40.
40 investors. So there's so much room in this particular project that, as Jenny said, you've already started creating jobs for the 30 investors. There's going to be well more than the 10 coverage. Usually you see projects that have, I don't know, between 15 and 25 is kind of a benchmark. Sometimes you'll see projects right at the edge of that, like 10.3, which we stay away from. So this particular project has a very, very good job creation multiplier.
Perfect. Okay.
In addition to that, Dr. Pavera said, from our, MCE manager's perspective, that's why we require completion guarantee and maximum cost guarantee. Completion guarantee is a commitment from developers. They have to finish the project on time. And now at this moment, I'm glad that they're a little bit ahead of time.
Incidentally, if anybody wants to get really bored, I wrote an article on this for USAS years ago. It was published in the proceedings of the International Finance Association in May of 2012. And it kind of goes through what the risks are and somebody who's doing one of these that's not experienced in it, because the methodology is really very important, experience very important. And again, Jenny hired one of the best economists out there to do this.
Okay. For Joey, my H-1B was prudentially revoked and I'm considering EB-5. Previous visa was given after vetting for 8 months, but the U.S. consulate revoked it anyway. Can this create any issue with an EB-5 filing? Can I travel on AP based on EB-5? Would you like me to reread?
No, I'm thinking.
Okay.
So a prudential revocation doesn't do anything to your current status. It just means that if you were to travel, you wouldn't be able to use it to come back in. So presumably, the answer to your question is yes, you can still travel on advanced parole based on EB-5. You would use your advanced parole document. You don't use your visa to re-enter. If you have a valid advanced parole document, you shouldn't have a problem coming in to the border with that. No, I don't think that would make any issue for your EB-5 filing.
Thank you. Okay.
You know, I want to add something. If anyone has questions, especially those challenging problems, ask Joey.
Yeah.
Sign Joey as attorney. You know, a lot of our tough challenge immigration question, because we have deal with 1,200 families about EB-5 before. And anytime I run into really tough questions, tough immigration problems, the one I go to is WR. And the firm I go to is WR, the one I go to is Joey. And just yesterday, one of our former clients come into our office and expressed our appreciation to us, and he wants me transfer that to Joey. And Ray, he successfully landed in the United States. Again, he was so happy because he helped him solve a big problem. You know, that's all these challenges and all those tough issues. A lot of lawyers never thinking about that, and Joey can resolve it. That's the right lawyer you have to go to.
Thank you, Jenny. I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you. Thank you all for answering so many questions. I will say, I think we've got one final question just in general. What is the biggest misconception people still have after doing their own immigration research online? Joey, that's probably for you.
The biggest misconception. I think because the visa wait times is such an opaque issue that there's a lot of different opinions about it. And no one really knows, to be honest, because there's so many unknown elements to this that impact processing times. So and just to repeat what I said, like, you can't rely on somebody who is gotten their conditional green card today and say that's going to be my timeline, because it may not. And I hope I'm wrong when I said that 3 to 7 year thing before, and it's shorter and you guys get your conditional green cards faster. But if that's reality, then at least you knew about it beforehand and you still decided to move forward. And so that to me is probably the biggest misconception that I think is out there.
Okay. Well, thank you all for staying on. I know it was a bit longer than we anticipated, but we had excellent questions and just really great attendance. So is there anything in closing that each of you would like to add or to say? Starting with Joey.
Sure. The most important part of EB-5 is the project you choose. I can't say that strongly enough. It's not the attorney that you work with. It's the project that you work with and invest in. And you need to go with someone that knows the EB-5 requirements, that understands how many documents are required in order for you to get your I-829 condition removed and get the permanent green card. You got to work with people experienced like Joseph and Jenny. They know what they're doing. This is a great project. They're spending the money now. And I think that's really a very, very important thing. That's what should be on top of mind.
You
Dr. Pembross?
know, immigration to the United States requires you crossing a bridge to America. And there are many pathways. They've been created, very different categories. And I'm a firm believer in the EB-5 part because of the investment that people are making in it. But ultimately it gets down to a personal decision, as everybody has said here, about who you trust, who's going to take you through the path, along the pathway, either going to say, go ahead, you're on your own, or you're going to be with somebody that's going to stay with you, or some resources that you have to rely on throughout. And so I think that's the biggest misconception. A lot of these centers, projects, whatever, I've seen over the years, they were gone at the time the person wanted to file. They weren't able to sustain themselves throughout that process. And we've been around for the better part of 2 decades now. And that's really important in the sense that if you're going to get across that bridge to America, you want to have somebody who's right beside you all the way. And I think that's the most important thing. If you're going to pick a center, pick a project, pick an attorney, it's somebody that's willing to stay with you the entire way.
Okay. Jenny?
Well, I know it's very hard to earn $800,000, and it's very hard to make decision investing in EB-5. When you select a project, this is always reminds me every day. We as an NCE managers, we have to protect investor interest in our heart. We have to, bring our best professionalism, team capability, our fundraising capability together. We will work hard for you. We will always stand by you. It's a long journey. From what I understand, immigration is a long journey. It's a tough journey. And I totally understand how tough is deal with USCIS. Believe me, I came from that path. And being someone in the same line, share the same, disparity and frustration, just like you do. Us beyond our team will do our best and help you reduce your burden in your EB-5 journey. This is, I think we could conclude in here.
Yes. So thank you all again for taking the time today, and we truly appreciate the care and thought that you're taking, with this decision for you and your family, and sincerely grateful to support you for that opportunity to support you as you move forward. So we're here for any questions that you have, whether it ends up being us or not. We'd love to be that person, that group that supports you and moving forward. So thank you all for your time tonight. It was an excellent webinar, and sounds like people enjoyed it and got lots of questions answered. So enjoy your evening, and again, we appreciate your time.